Hello and welcome to the IIT Madras Do-It-Yourself program. I am Aditya Rao and I study electronics at IIT Madras. In this program, we'll be teaching you to make a lot of interesting electronic projects. So let me help you do it yourself. In this video, we'll be building a very simple robot using only one BO motor. Here are all the items we'll need to do that. We'll need one glue gun with its glue stick. We'll need a pocket knife, a couple of empty pens, a couple of ice cream sticks, one cutter, a couple of empty gel pen refills, a 18650 lithium ion battery along with its battery holder, one BO motor which is a double shafted one, a plier and a couple of paper clips. We'll also be needing one simple switch. We'll start off by cutting the empty gel pen refills. I'll measure them using a scale and I'll make a cut at 5 centimeters. Now this is one 5 centimeter piece. I'll need 4 such pieces. So let me just do that. And just like that, I have cut all 4 5 centimeter long pieces. Now I'll set these aside and begin with the next piece. For that, I'll need 7 centimeter long pieces. So I'll follow the same process and make a cut at 7 centimeters. Now this is a 7 centimeter long piece and I'll need 2 of these. So I'll make one more. So these are the two 7 centimeter long pieces, and lastly I'll need to cut 2 pieces which are of 2 centimeters in length. So I'll measure 2 centimeters here and make the cut. And here I have the 2 centimeter long pieces. Now I'll begin by wiring up the battery holder, the motor and the switch. So connected the black wire to one terminal of the motor, and the second terminal will be connected, but it will go through this switch. And I'll use this wire to connect the switch back to the motor. So in this way, the battery holder has been connected to the BO motor through a switch. Now that that's done, I'll make sure that I have made all the connections properly by checking if the motor runs by plugging in this 18650 battery into the battery holder. One thing to note here is that whenever you make these connections, make sure that the copper wire has been twisted very nicely to ensure a solid connection. So now I'll just insert this battery into its battery holder. First I'll ensure the switch is off. I'll insert it and then, setting the motor aside, I'll turn the switch on. Now since it rotates, I can be sure that I have made the connections properly, and then I can just turn it off and proceed with the next step of the build. Now that's done, I'll just go ahead and glue everything so that it's one single piece. So I'll apply a very small dab of glue on the top of the VO motor. And I'll place my battery on top of it, I'll position it, and then I'll just press it. Make sure that it's properly stuck. Wait for a couple of minutes until the glue solidifies, and then I'll go ahead and attach this switch over here onto the side like this. Again, I'll use some glue and attach it like this. Wait a couple of seconds until the glue solidifies, and there we have the first module ready with the VO motor, the battery holder attached on top of it, and the switch attached to the side of the battery holder. And to test if everything is still working, I can just turn on the switch. The motor still runs, so I can be sure that nothing changed when I did the gluing. And I can turn it off and proceed with the next step. After that's done, I'll go ahead and cut off a small piece from this side of my ice cream stick. I'll do that using a pocket knife. So I'll make a line right here. And then snap it off like this. I need another one of these, so I'll make it really quick. And similarly, just snap it off. Now that we have the two of these, I set these aside, and now I'll take the two pieces which are 5 cm and 2 cm, and then I'll form a 7 shape like this. I'll be making this connection using a dab of glue, but you need to make sure that you make this shape which resembles the number 7. So I'll add a bit of glue to one side, and then just join this plastic over to this plastic, and make sure you wait enough time for the glue to solidify. While we wait for this to dry, we'll make another one of these pieces with the same 5 cm and 2 cm long tubes. So repeat the same process by applying a dab of glue to one end, and then joining this piece over here. Set this aside and wait for it to dry. Go ahead and stick it to this piece of ice cream stick which we chopped off earlier, and I'll be making the connection like this using glue gun once again. So I'll add a dot of glue on this wooden piece, and then I'll be vertically positioning this and sticking it on top of it. Wait until the glue solidifies. Set that aside and repeat the same process with these two pieces. while positioning this, make sure that it is a mirror image of this one, because this is the left and this is the right piece, and just attach it like you did earlier. After we are done with this process, we need to attach the 7 cm long piece about midway of the 5 cm long piece, such that it is parallel to the leg, which is the ice cream stick. So at the end it should look something like this, with this being the 7 cm long piece. So repeat the same process by using a glue gun. Add a dab of glue to one end. And then I'll just fix it over here. And then repeat the same process for the other leg as well. Now set these aside and wait for a couple of minutes until the glue solidifies. One thing to note here is that there is a good chance of you going through a short circuit over here. So to prevent that, I recommend applying a dab of glue over here to prevent that scene. So apply this like this, then wait for it to dry, or solidify rather. After the glue is set, we'll be attaching the last two 5 cm long pieces of the gel pen refill to the BO motor of our robot. Now the place where we will be attaching these two pieces is where the plastic ends and the metal begins. So we'll be attaching it using a glue gun over here, and the way in which we'll be attaching is like this. So once again, I'll apply a dab of glue over here, and then attach this piece. And as always, wait for it to solidify. Once that's dry, I'll be repeating the same process on this side. So I'll add a dab of glue over here, then attach this piece like this. Next, you need to bring back one of these ice cream stick pieces from which we cut the foot earlier. So I'll be splitting this piece in half, just like earlier, and then snapping it. And then I'll be gluing this piece such that it's perpendicular to the other piece. Now we'll be using this for stability, and I'll shortly show you how it is attached right here. So now I'll add a dab of glue to the center of this piece, and then attach the second piece on top of it. Once that's done, wait a couple of seconds for the glue to solidify. And then we'll be attaching this piece to this piece. So I have the 2 points over here, and then joining them together like this. So I'll add 2 dabs of glue over here, Wait for a couple of seconds until the glue solidifies. And then we should have this piece ready. Now let us begin with the next step. Now from these empty pen tubes, we'll need 2 cm long pieces. So for that, using a knife, I'll make a score by running it along the circumference and then breaking it off. Now once I've created a proper score like this by drawing the knife again and again, I can just break this off with my hand like this. Now I can repeat the same process at a distance of 2 cm from this edge and then break it off once again. Now I've measured and scored 2 pieces of 2 cm each, and I'll simply break this off. 1 and 2, the second one. So I have both the 2 cm pieces right here. And alternatively, you can also use a hot knife to make this cuts more easily and to save a lot of time. But while doing that, make sure you're under the supervision of a responsible adult, or you ask the adult to do it themselves. Also, exercise caution while using a hot glue gun because the tip becomes very hot, and if it comes in contact with human skin, it will be very painful. So make sure to keep this in mind. Now these are the 2 pieces which I have, and I'll shortly be attaching it to the shaft on both the sides of the BO motor. Now I'll start off by removing the burrs, which is the small plastic shavings of these 2 pieces. I'll use a knife since it is faster and just run it through like this. Now we have these 2 pieces, and I'd also like to explain how you'll be connecting them to the shaft of your BO motor. So this is the shaft and this is the piece that we'll be connecting. On one side you'll be connecting the plastic piece to the flat side of the shaft, and keep this in mind, on the other side you'll be attaching it to the opposite side of the flat side. So for example, if I attach this over here, on the opposite side it will be up. If you take this reference. So once again, if I attach it like this over here on the top, on the other side it will be, the second piece will be on the bottom of the flat shaft. Now I'll attach it using a dab of glue again, and now make sure you attach it by placing the dab of glue on the plastic piece rather than the motor, because you don't want glue getting inside the gears of your motor. So start off by applying a small dab of glue, and then make sure you leave a small gap of at least 1 mm between the plastic of the motor and the shaft, and then stick this tube onto the shaft like this. And after you place it, hold it for a couple of seconds or minutes until the glue solidifies. Now, as I explained earlier, I'll be attaching the second piece to this side of the shaft. Do the same process by applying a dab of glue like this, and then fixing it to the shaft, and then holding it for a couple of seconds until the glue solidifies. Now after the glue is pretty solid, you'll be left with this. Let us proceed to the next step. For the next step, we will be needing 2 paper clips. I'll be using these as the retainers for the front legs, and using a glue gun once again I'll be attaching it over here. But first I need to open it up a little bit. Bend the bigger piece outwards like this, and this much is enough for you to attach it to the rear legs. Do the same thing with the other piece. And then you end up with 2 pieces which look something like this. Now using a glue gun, I'll be connecting it to this portion of my robot. So once again, start off by applying a dab of glue like this. And then quickly insert these metal paper clips onto the legs. Just like this. Wait for a couple of seconds until the glue solidifies, and then you can move on to the other side. And once the glue solidifies, you should be left with the pins or the paper clips as shown. I will demonstrate how these 2 pieces work on the shaft by turning the robot on. As you can see, we have this sort of a motion that we achieved by attaching the pieces in this manner. Before we move to the next step, what I like to do is add a bit of glue to the bottom side of these 2 legs right here for, as you already guessed it, for grip. So what I'll do is I'll once again add some glue to this surface, and then I'll spread it across evenly using the last piece of the ice cream stick which was left. And that's it. Wait for this to solidify and you have your grip ready. Repeat the same thing for the other leg as well. Add a bit of glue. And then spread it across evenly. Like this. And now we can move to the next step. Now we are on the last step where we assemble all the built pieces together. So I have the motor part of the robot here and the 2 legs. So in order to finish the last step, I'll take one of the legs. This is the right leg because it goes over here. I'll insert it into this paper clip holder, the longer piece into this holder, and then I'll insert the 2 cm piece into the plastic tube which is connected to the shaft. I'll press it inside so that it goes in completely. And then once that's done, I can do the same thing for the other side. Push this in into the paper clip holder and then insert this into the tube which is mounted on the shaft. And finally our build is complete and it should look something like this at the end. Now before we do anything, you want to make sure to adjust these paperclip retainers so that the legs don't fall off when the robot is actually on. Now once I have adjusted both of them as per my dimensions, I can just turn it on and place it.